So this is also touching on the question. This is the questions that I got from you guys first time. And somebody asked how to work with people who are not into mindfulness, you know, because all this somatic psychotherapy and all that, but like it doesn't work with some people, or they are not at all into it. So how can you, what do you do, you know? So anyway, coming back to your question, so the rapport is, yeah, so that there's this trust to be happening, and so that the subconscious of the client relaxes a little bit, and they feel, they need to feel welcomed. They need to feel welcomed, and no matter what they have, it is okay with you, and not judged. So this is obvious, yeah? But whatever we need to do, whatever it is through deep listening, or to also being real, you know, not to be a fake therapist, like doing some stuff, but be real, whatever it is for you, genuine. You know, genuine, you know, so rather than be like something. So I'm like real. I curse sometimes, whatever. And so I don't know, the subconscious of the client will be like, oh wow, this guy is real, man, nice. And actually this is nice because we like that. We and actually, you know, whether the client is doing mindfulness or not, they are universal consciousness, and that they feel you, and then they feel you are fake, or they feel there's something, then it feels off, it feels something, you know, tight. So if they feel we are real, we are open, non-judgmental, they pick it up. You know, even like I had like really unsophisticated dude, like, but they feel it, you know. So yeah, so before doing any accessing of the pain or any of that, you need to spend some time to invest into the rapport, what, you know.
But also, as you listen to them and whatever they bring to the session, I think that those core negative beliefs come to the surface also, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to tell a patient directly, you know, look, you don't think much of yourself, or you operate from a position of scarcity, or not enough, or, you know, it's hard to just tell them, here you have this belief system that there's not enough love, not enough money, not enough of anything. So once you picked up that that's their stuff, and everybody has their different stuff, right? I love I love this actually, because now almost like I know a little bit what are those stories, those limitations, and those
deficiency
stories. And so when I say we're going to try something different, and I plop in just like I have everything I need, or there is an abundance in the world, right? And so then I know it's going to push the button, because I already picked it. You know what I mean? So I can tailor the sentence so that I know it will bring up a lot of stuff.
When it's the right time.
Right.
Through the hearing therapy.
Yes.
They share.
Yes.
And then you get some GPS where they're
at. Right. They're not going to come and say, I have this deficiency story, but based on my wife doesn't love me, and at my work I have this. So you kind of start picking up what is really that story.
Also to somehow create circumstances to allow for this deep processing to happen. Clients may have some idea of what therapy is about.
Yes.
That you are heard and you cry, and then it's like, oh, it's okay, you know. So that's just a small part of therapy, but we need to do some psychoeducation about what's the therapeutical process about. So at some point early on, I speak to their mind. So, hey man, so this is what's happening. Like I give a speech like how I gave 2 weeks ago about what's happening. So we are born. Often I say, hey man, I just want you to know my spiel. my approach on psychotherapy, since you come to me, I just want you to know it and see if you resonate.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, my understanding, what you really are doesn't need healing.
Yes.
It's completely wonderful, perfect, divine being. And I was like, this is like, you can feel like some relief, because there's all this, they are high, the burden of this being, you know.
Yes.
And then I explain what happens, and then we, in a appropriate way, I customize it to each person, you know, and explain, you know, we develop because of these things, these limiting beliefs and these imprints. So part of our work here will be that we need to identify what those are, and then like that. So you know, you educate them of what you are going to do. You don't shock them, you know what I mean? I want to speak now about this. You are pretty restless, buddy.
Fly chasing.
What?
Fly chasing.
Fly chasing. Yeah, you see, I was projecting. He's just doing his own thing. You know? He's
Working.
He's working. He's doing his dharma.
I thought it was maybe frogs or something.
So I would like to speak about, okay, what do you do? Let's say, what do I do? I'm really, so somatic psychotherapy and awareness, and then some Jane comes. Never heard of this. Never heard of this. So what do you do? Yeah. So because you, yeah. So what I do is that in the first session, or the latest session, I explained to them that actually, you know, there's this other approach which is more effective, and why, where we need to be more aware of what's happening and explore what's happening. So we need this ability to be more aware, you know, and also when we have strong feelings. So we need mindfulness, one, to be able to explore the, you know, the Mariana Fall. How do you call that? Like there's that huge Mariana Abyss, Trench. The Mariana Trench. So let's say what we want to do is that to have the client go with you in a submarine and go in the Mariana Trench to explore all these things. But in order to explore the Mariana Trench in a submarine, you need to have a light. So if they don't have ability to be aware or witness, that's hard to do that. So we need this ability to witness content in order to study their subconscious. Also, we need awareness because it's the ultimate resource for strong emotions. So they need it for being angry or sad. So it's like awareness, mindfulness is self-soothing and self-regulating. We're doing this with kids. We don't go into inquiry or self-inquiry, but having the kids, you know, be aware of the breath, stay in the present, disrupt by feeling the body and feeling the belly and feeling the breath. This is a self-regulating factor. It stabilizes inner turmoil. So we need that. So I explain about that, and then the best way is that to do some kind of simple guided mindfulness, but not for long, for like 10 minutes or so. And it's really beautiful. I did some, actually I have it on my guided meditation, on the playlist with guided meditation. I have some which I've done, they were live with somebody who had never heard about meditation or mindfulness ever. So this is pretty cool. You're like, wow, how can I put this appropriately, this all these years and years, or you know. So I did, so on this my YouTube channel, the ones that are completely for beginner, I put like this intro to mindfulness, intro to these are actual live guided meditation where I walk them through the process of being mindful without going into the self, into you are not this, you are not that. Just more like about yeah, so I did teaching them. It's about being conscious, being aware to the experience, being aware of the here and now. And the here and now, what's happening here is their thoughts, images, feelings, and we're just aware of it and teach them how not to check out. And so we are doing it together, you know. And I encourage them to do it on their own. And then each time, each session, uh, I start the session with this. Say, hey, also it's very helpful because usually people are busy and distracted and all that, so they are like scattered. So this will bring them more present. So I do this each time. So I focus on developing this ability to be mindful without going into shit first.
Yeah.
You know. Now, you know, we were studying Hakomi. I remember that there was this trainer, a great therapist. He was saying that I sometimes had to do talk therapy for like a year to the point where I could bring the client to not do talk therapy anymore.
God.
Yeah. So there was like, oh wow, yeah. I do have, you know, I have a client who. You know, sometimes there's this missing experience of talking to someone. So there's big backlog of you need to talk, just talk, to download. There's this need to talk, and somehow that's important. And then there's still too much. It's like the pipe is clogged. They don't have anybody to talk to, or somehow this is needed. And somehow if I need to allow for that. So I could see that this happening all the time, talking all the time, talking. And so at some, I don't like that. I know this doesn't help. It doesn't, I mean, I know it's not so effective for really their own good. So at some point I made a deal with her. I said, hey, you know, this is, I want to hear you and all this, but for your own good, this is not so effective. So how about you give me half an hour?
Yes.
Give me half an hour. So first I hear you completely and we talk 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then 20, 30 minutes, we do this awareness-based exploration. But, you know, meanwhile, I build rapport. She liked working with me and all that. So she says, okay. So I start doing this. She talks and then I say, okay, now let's do it. And then it worked. The client now started to cry and all this trauma, like, from my point of view, that was going excellently. She was now going beyond the story. She was like releasing pain, understanding, regressing, was doing this. I was like trying to harness this course that, you know, and then, so we're doing this deep stuff with whipping and each time. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome, man. They're doing wonderful. And so it was going great. After a few months, the lady comes to me and says, hey, Mihai, you know, I want to talk to you. I really like you. I want that you are my therapist, but I really don't want to do those things that you do, that kind of hypnosis, meditation thing. I don't want to do that because I can do that on my own. I know, which is bullshit. She doesn't do that. You know what I mean? So I just want to talk. I just want to talk. And I really don't want to find another therapist because you are so nice and blah, blah. Yeah? And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I realized that, okay, she really finds benefit from working with me. And although I know that's not so helpful just talking, I realized, okay, I think it's better for her if I drop my agenda. I drop my agenda and this is what she needs. She asked me, this was, you know. So I'm like, okay, I get it. All right, I get it. So then from then on, she comes, she sits down, and she talks for like all the time. And I don't bring anything. And sometimes I ask her, hey, so what, so do you need anything? As we talk, she says, you know, I had so much problems, all this, I just want I'm not crazy, with some validation. I'm like, okay. So basically, I do this. I'm listening, and I feel extremely that in really at some level ineffective. I mean, this is not going to. This is the same thing over and over, and somehow she benefits from it. I hardly do any intervention. Sometimes I'm like, hey, just something like some talk therapy intervention. And now what I do is that as I still maintain my, I'm resting as awareness, and I see her as awareness, and I'm fully open, and I feel her feelings and all that. So, I have some clients, one or two clients like that. I have another client where she is young, and she looks even younger than she is, and then she had a lot of developmental trauma and abuse and brain damage, and somehow she also needs to talk right away. She just sits down and she's like, hey, so I went and this guy and this or that, and then all the time I'm like, whoa, oh, okay. So one time, after a long time, I say, hey, can we drop in, and can you be just aware of this, and now can you bring this thing with this guy and this man? And then she was like, intense, very intense stuff. So I realized, shit, I need to back up here. She was now flooded, overwhelmed with all this. She had like dependent personality disorder, basically need a man all the time without a man and all this, because the man in her life was fucked and was really terrible, wounding, terrible. So I realized that, no, I cannot. So I often, and I did more like some TBS, like some kind of coach, and be like an uncle, like, hey man, this is not good. Don't let the guy do this. Jenny, her name is not Jenny, but like, Jenny, this is not okay. This is not love. You can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm like a mentor
Yeah.
buddy, and she learns a lot from all that. And then sometimes I will do a little bit of this. So sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes it takes time. Also, you have a choice. I mean, I can have a choice now to be, you know what? There are so many therapists that can do talk therapy, and that's what they do. And there are so many people who can do this type of work with this woman. I don't like to do this at all. I'm so good at what I want. I'm so good at something else. So it's totally okay for me to just choose my clients and then work with these people. So I kind of basically now has, let's say, I have majority I do kind of in-depth somatic awareness-based work. I have this person that he told me, hey, so I'm just doing it. And I have this other lady who somehow I feel like that, man, she had so much shit that she needs some help. And then somehow she stays, has good rapport with me, so I can help her. I feel for her. And then I also have another guy who I start right away from the beginning. Hey, let's do this. How about we drop in to do my intro to mindfulness? And then the moment we do that, he just falls asleep, drops the phone. I'm like, hey, and I'll do it again. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Also, we're all on Zoom all the time. I never seen him, you know what I mean? So I just, I'm back into, talk therapy. And somehow there's like, it's so, oh, Mihai, I just, so useful for me, so helpful. I'm like, fuck, really?
It reminds me of Rogerian therapy. Wasn't
Yeah.
that what it was called? The old
Rogerian
Rogers
clients.
method. Just listen.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. Don't do any intervention. Just listen.
Yeah.
That was Rogers. Right?
Adia sort of said something to that effect, that if people fall asleep during meditation, it's either of two reasons. One is they're extremely tired.
Yeah.
The other is that they don't want to go there. It's too loud in their head.
Yeah.
and so they just check out.
Yeah.
It's easier.
So I'm planning with this client actually when we're going to meet in person to try in person. You know?
So he was open to the idea.
Yeah, he was open. He's like a strong guy, ex-military, strong, special forces, man, PTSD, trenches, people dying. And in order for him to process that, he really needs, so he's theoretically open to it, but operationally he couldn't do it. Yeah.
Not ideal. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's my spiel on do my best to bring it there. And I feel pretty okay doing it fast, but there are exceptions. And you can't force it.
Remember my bodywork teacher years ago, he told us a case story of a woman who came to him, and he's just doing bodywork, not talk therapy at all, no talking. And he realizes in the very first session that she starts crying as he's working on her.
Yeah.
And he pretty is clear that she had an abortion.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say anything about it. She comes every week